It is week 9 in the European LCS. I'm Lindsay Geektron, and this is the league's direction in review for Class 5. It's Super Week in the EU LCS, and I can't stress enough how close the standings are. With the teams so evenly matched in the rankings right now, everything is riding on this weekend. All it takes is a few wins to send one team flying up to the top of the bracket, and a couple of losses to land yourself all the way down at the bottom. On the first day, every team wanted to jump out of the gates and put themselves in an early advantage. But it was SK, EG, Gambit, and Lemondogs emerging with 2-0 scores in the first day, leaving Alternate, NIP, MYM, and Fnatic in the dust with 0-2 records after the initial round of games. SK Gaming was able to pull out wins over Alternate and Fnatic, a good sign for the team if they want to advance in the standings. But while Alternate and Fnatic struggled, EG and Gambit found much-needed wins that put them back into the top 4 teams. It only got better for Gambit, being the only team to go 2-0 on the second day. But with EG, SK, and Lemondogs also picking up a win, the standings remained close as ever. But while wins were getting picked up for some teams, others found themselves struggling. Alternate, Fnatic, NIP, and MYM continued to rack up losses. While Fnatic had prior wins to buffer their recent string of losses, NIP, Alternate, and MYM found themselves sinking down into the rankings faster than they can keep up with. While MYM were essentially locked into last place, SK had an overall worse record than the rest of the failing teams, and each loss brought them closer and closer to facing elimination. Day 3, the final day of the EU LCS. With the standings so close, there was so much potential for massive ties throughout the rankings. NIP, a team who was fighting with SK to stay out of 7th place, found their savior in the form of their mid laner Bjergsen. Some sexy Zed plays gave them a win over Alternate, and then his Diana wreaked havoc over SK Gaming. This put SK tied for 7th place with Alternate, and they would have a tiebreaker to decide who gets the 6th place spot and a seat at playoffs, and who gets 7th place and gets sent home. But with Lemondogs solidly in 1st place, Fnatic, EG, Gambit, and NIP found themselves in a 4-way tie for 2nd through 5th place with 15-13 scores. So a series of tiebreaker games took place to settle the insanely close standings once and for all. First up was SK versus Alternate. The winner would secure themselves into 6th place and make a playoff seat, while the loser would get eliminated from LCS and would have to requalify for next season. But when the dust settled, it was Alternate who took down SK's Nexus and moved on to the playoffs. This means that SK Gaming was eliminated from the EU LCS along with Meet Your Makers, and will have to requalify if they hope to play again in next season. But the games aren't all done yet. Ninjas in Pajamas faced off against Fnatic in the first tiebreaker in a fight for 2nd place. Fnatic came out guns blazing, dominating at pretty much all parts of the game. With a huge kill and gold lead, Fnatic had no problem pushing into NIP's base to take a convincing 28-minute game. With Fnatic now a step closer to that 2nd place slot, EG and Gambit would now fight for the chance to challenge them. In a bloodthirsty game full of skirmishes and kills on both sides, Gambit started to emerge with a clear lead. But one slip-up gave EG a huge victory after a fight. They were able to take Baron, and after one last major team fight, they forced their way into Gambit's base and took down the Nexus at the last second. EG wasn't done yet. They had to jump right into the big game against Fnatic to determine who would get the coveted 2nd place spot and the buy-in in playoffs. Both teams got some comfort champions, but the combination of Xpeke's Kassadin and Soaz's Nasus proved to be too much for EG to handle. And after a brutal 25 minutes, EG surrendered, and Fnatic locked in their hard-earned 2nd place spot in the EU LCS right behind Lemondogs. But Gambit was ready to erase any doubts from our mind with a command performance, winning the game in a dominating fashion. NIP will settle with their 5th place finish, and Gambit will get ready to fight for 3rd. And the last game of the day, Gambit faced off against Evil Geniuses for 3rd place. This was the 2nd time the teams fought against each other in the same day, and each team's 5th game of the day. And what a game to end the Super Week. Everyone was on the edge of their seats with EG's team comps, specifically the Anivia staple that has become synonymous with Froggen. But to everyone's surprise, it was Crepo on Anivia and Froggen on support Blitzcrank. The game that followed was a bloody massacre of amazing blitz grabs, chained AoE ults, and one of the most sided games we have seen all day. EG won a convincing game against Gambit and secured their third place spot going into playoffs. Thanks for watching this week's coverage of the European LCS Super Week. And gosh, what a week, those poor guys. Don't forget to join us for our coverage of the EU playoffs and the Road to Worlds. Like and subscribe to Cloth 5 for all of your weekly League of Legends updates. And I'm Lindsay Geektron, and I'll see you next episode for our coverage of the European LCS right here on TLDR for Cloth 5.